Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. Blizzard dropped a surprise patch for Warcraft Rumble last night. The patch has a couple of balance changes, some miscellaneous changes, some improvements and bug fixes for the Horde event, and actually one little buff for the Gnomeregan dungeon, or maybe it's a nerf. Anyway, a change for the Gnomeregan dungeon. So let's take a look at what's going on. First of all, we have some Arthas nerfs. Arthas was nerfed very slightly already earlier when the Footman cooldown was increased. And now Arthas nerfs cost increase from 4 gold to 5 gold. And cost increase nerf, of course, is one of the more major nerfs that you can do. So that should see Arthas become a little bit weaker. And also Death Grip talent range has been decreased from 9 to 8. But Arthas should also still remain a fairly strong leader. Then there's a bunch of miscellaneous changes. 3 trial stars added to the event reward tree. So now if you get all the trial stars from the reward tree, you are 20 stars away from epic, which means that you can buy 2 of the 10 star bundles in order to get your trial to epic. Trial counts as an orc. You can heal for the event challenge. There's an event challenge to heal orcs, and trial is now one of them. Note that pyromancer and rend still are not. So it still depends a little bit, but horde orcs now look like orcs. Then play Horde minis, you have to play those like 50 Horde minis, and you now only need to do it 5 times, so requirements were lowered a little bit. And then one change to Gnomeregan, making a thermoplug, the final boss in Gnomeregan. The bomb damage has been increased to 8% from 5%, and now it also scales with levels by 1% per level. So if things go poorly for you, then your base is destroyed faster, but you can also kill Mechina Thermoblock a little bit faster now, so it's a little bit less tedious for high-level players. So I'm not sure. I guess that's maybe even a nerf to the dungeon. Hard to say because Mechina Thermoblock was free basically, so the nerf is the buff. It's at least a change that makes the fight a little bit faster. And then the final change in the patch, the most controversial change, the change that Blizzard probably did not think through. Charlga, nerf, buff, what is it? So I showed you how to kill Onyxia with Charlga, and they nerfed that you can't do it like that anymore. However, now if you have a high level Charlga and you level it up with Griffin Rider potions or smoke bombs, then you can kill Onyxia even faster than I did in my video. So high level Charlga became even better against Onyxia, and low level Charlga no longer can do it. But there were lots of things that probably were not intended. So Charlga's damage. It's percentage based damage, so 2% with 5% level modifier now on regular targets. There used to be no level modifier, and also 5% minimum. So underlevel Charlga against regular minis now deals a lot more damage. It eats Molten Giants, for example. It's just phenomenal. And also high level Charlga, because it gets those level modifiers, it's just choop, 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 everything dies instantly. Then 1% damage with 1% level modifier on bosses, so boss damage has been halved, sort of, except if you're plus 2 levels to the boss, then you're actually dealing more damage than you ever did before. Then 0.5% damage with 1% level modifier on barracks and a 1% minimum, so the minimum barracks damage is now halved, but again, if you're high level in the barracks, you're suddenly just dealing a lot more damage. And a 0.5% damage with 0.5% level modifier on raid bosses. So against Onyxia, for example, against Onyxia herself, you now need to be level 33 to deal the same damage that my 25 Charlga did in the video. However, you're going to deal a lot more damage against the warders. So warders are just going to melt, and if you can level up Charlga, and if you can level up Charlga beyond 33, then Onyxia is just going to melt almost instantly. So this was really poorly thought out, and oh boy. So Charlga has been problematic. Because of the percentage damage, it's the only mini that deals. It's the only mini that you have on the board that deals percentage damage. Of course, we have Execute dealing percentage damage, but that's a spell and it's a one-off, and it's a little bit easier to think about like that. But what about Charlga? What if it can be kept alive? What if it's buffed on the board? Strange things will happen. So let's take a look a little bit about the Charlga saga and how I think Blizzard should fix this. Originally, Charlga used to deal 2% plus 6 points of elemental damage per tick. And that 2% was capped at 2% of 3000, so 60 damage. But that cap didn't scale. It was 2% of 3000 even if your Charlga was level 30. So when high levels came, Charlga's damage just became non-existent. So for example, level 1 Molten Giant, 3500 health, level 1 Charlga deals 66 damage to it per tick. A level 30 Molten Giant has 55,664 health, and a level 30 Charlga dealt 155 damage to it per tick. So Molten Giant gained 16 times the health from 1 to 30, and Charlga gained 2.5 times the damage. You can probably see the problem here. Charlga would not keep up with other minis as levels were gained. So Blizzard decided to fix this. And in the first patch, Blizzard just removed the damage cap from the percentage damage. So then Charlga dealt 2% damage per tick to any target, and there's 4 ticks per second with Charlga's beam. So 360 damage per tick to Onyxia, normalized to level 1, but I mean it goes up with the levels. And so level 1, against level 1 Onyxia, level 1 Charlga would deal 1440 DPS. Compared to, let's say, Darkspear Troll deals 158 DPS. So having that one Charlga there was the same as having 9 Darkspear Trolls. You can kind of see the problem here. The bigger the boss, the faster they fall. No, actually they fall at the exact same time, but yeah, the harder they fall. So Charlga became the ultimate boss killer. And Blizzard was really concerned about this, of course. So they scrambled for a fix. They added damage scaling per level difference, so that something like a 25 Charlga could no longer kill a level 30 Onyxia really easily. However, they copied the level difference scaling from Execute, which caused further issues. So overlevel Charlgas deal even more damage than they used to deal before. So against Onyxia, Charlga, level 33, same damage as before, and now higher level, even more damage, and a lot more damage. So underlevel Charlga is now bad against bosses, but overlevel Charlga is really good. And because Charlga is a mini that you can have on the board, and you can buff it in various ways, for example like Smoke Bomb and Airdrop, then that problem is inherent. Whenever you introduce scaling for a mini like this, you are creating an unsolvable problem for yourself. It's not even a question of copying it over from Execute, although that may have added some of the symptoms, but it's a fundamental issue. You just can't do that, or you can, but you shouldn't. So it's obvious that Blizzard is going to change Charlga again. They cannot leave it like that. I just hope that they change it in a good way instead of in a bad way. So here's my proposal on how it should work. The level scaling should be removed. There's inherent scaling already, because the damage is a percentage, and it doesn't need other scaling. There are some consequences to that decision though. A lower level Charlga deals relatively more damage, and a high level Charlga deals relatively less damage, because basically what the removal of level scaling in a percentage damage scenario means that Charlga always deals damage like it was at an even level with the enemy. Okay, so low level Charlga is kind of good, but low level Charlga is also easier to kill, so that shouldn't be a huge problem if you just get the percentage based damage right. And it can be made right by changing it based on the target type. And they already have this in the game, because now they introduced the level scaling. They introduced level scaling separately for bosses and for barracks and for raid bosses. So they already have all the files. They just need to remove the level scaling and change the percentage damage that Charlga deals to different targets. So let's say these are the numbers that I came up with. 2%, which is what Charlga used to do on regular minis. That means that all DPS normalized to level 1. Charlga would deal 304 DPS on a Molten Giant, which is the sturdiest regular mini in the game. So that's like almost 2 Darkspear Trolls. Yeah, that's really, really good damage. But then again, Charlga deals much, much less damage to something like a Ghoul, or something like a Witch Doctor, or even something like a Chicken or a Vulture. So Charlga has advantages and disadvantages. And like having 2 Darkspear Trolls, that's not nearly as game-breaking as having something being hit by 9 or 15 Darkspear Trolls like Charlga could do previously. If you change the damage on barracks to 0.5%, then that means 132 DPS on barracks in PvP. 132 DPS, okay, that's quite high for a 2-cost mini, but it's less than a troll, for example, so it's nothing game-breaking. 0.5% on bosses as well. The average boss has 5200 health in the game on level 1, so that would be 128 DPS. Okay, it's pretty good, but again, nothing game-breaking. And then 0.25% on raid bosses, because raid boss health goes from like 10,000 to 30,000. And on a 30,000 health boss, that would be 324 DPS. Okay, it's more than 2 Darkspear Trolls, but hey, it's still fine. It's not too much. Whereas against the lower boss, then of course, the DPS goes down all the way to like 100. Which is still nice for a 1 gold mini, but nothing broken. So that is how I would fix Charlga. That makes Charlga unique and strong niche to regular big minis. Charlga would be super good against them. But it's still not overpowered. And with these changes, Charlga would deal competitive damage still on barracks and on bosses, that very high on big regular minis, and low damage on small regular minis, so it also has a clear downside. And it can also deal pretty high damage on raid bosses, because like damage from 2 Darkspear trolls is nothing to scoff at, but it definitely wouldn't melt them, so it wouldn't be overpowered in any way. And if you can bring a Charlga to Heroic Ragnaros, and then Charlga deals damage equal to 2 Darkspear trolls, then you have deserved that damage from 2 Darkspear trolls just walking Charlga over to Heroic Ragnaros. So that's how I hope they will fix this, because they have now done 2 fixes and neither of those have been very good for the game so far. So the Charlga story, I'm sure we will have episode 3 coming up in the near future, because they have to change this again, and I hope they will change like this, and I think that would be the best compromise to give Charlga strengths and weaknesses in a reasonably fair way. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.